Hello friends! In this video I will show you how to heat up a camping tent with a Finnish style log stove, also known as a Finnish log torch. There are several methods to heating up a camping tent without a portable metal stove. You can set up a long log gap fire outside the tent, just close enough so that the heat would radiate through the tent's wall. Also, you can heat up a large rock and bring it inside the tent. You can easily find a large rock in the root ball of a falling tree, even in a snowy forest. But this video will demonstrate how to heat up a camping tent using a stream of warm air from a metal pipe running through a Finnish log torch. I have already tried this method using traditional campfire, but was not happy with the results. This time I'm using a Finnish torch with a curved pipe as a modification to the prior method. I should say up front that I was pleasantly surprised how well the tent heating method worked this time. First of all, we will need a metal pipe for our experiment. I used a curved steel pipe from the headrest of a vintage metal bed. The headrest was rusty, so it took me some time and effort to disassemble it into parts and clean them both outside and inside. Okay, now we have all we need to conduct the tent heating experiment in the snowy forest: a pipe, thermometer, and wood. I stashed a few dry segments of a falling fir tree last summer so we could save time on log cutting now. I left the wood segments wedged and suspended in the original log so they could stay dry. Now we need to make a Finnish log torch. The log torch, unlike the Finnish log candle, keeps all the fire inside the wood segment. It burns slower and more economically. Maximize the economy and duration of heating are the two characteristics I want to achieve in this project. There are many ways you can make a log torch, but I'll use the easiest one. It is about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 12 Celsius outside, and all the moisture in the wood freezes, so it becomes fairly easy to chop wet wood as the frozen moisture swells the log from inside. However, my log segments are dry because they were kept suspended above the ground, so it isn't that easy to chop them without a wedge. To make a log torch tent heater, you need to chop a segment of wood into 3 or 4 large pieces and remove the core portion of each piece, just enough so that you could loosely feed the pipe inside the formed channel. Because I was chopping wood for 2 log torches for 2 experiments, I got warm real quick. My trusty Billness No. 9 Finnish axe rose to the challenge. I think it is one of the best multi-purpose axes out there. I even used it to build my log cabin at Ladoga Lake. Traditionally, you would reinforce a Finnish log torch with vitsa, a rope made from fir branch. I will leave a link to my video about how to make such bushcraft rope below. This time, however, I will use my homemade clamper and steel wire as it is a lot faster. Time is valuable in the northern winter forest because the day is short and I need to assemble 2 log torches and my tent before dark. The reason I need 2 log torches is because I need to test 2 metal pipe shapes, a single bent pipe and a U-shaped pipe. We will try a U-shaped steel pipe experiment first. Obviously, we would have to insert the U-shaped pipe into the torch's triangular opening before clamping the torch assembly. Once I added legs to this log torch, it became heavier, but it is still fairly mobile. I can easily pick it up by its legs and carry it to the tent. In order to heat up a tent, well, we need a tent. This means it is time to set up my tried and tested tent model UP5. It is a spacious camping tent for 5 people. Almost a small studio apartment with no pesky neighbors and a great location. However, it won't be easy to heat up such a large space, which makes the experiment even more interesting and trustworthy. My double-wall Russian-made tent has an umbrella-like frame that allows you to set it up quickly. Now it is time to fire up our log torch. As I said earlier, I nailed 3 legs to each log torch for better airflow and stability. Next, I cleared a small spot from snow so that the log torch wouldn't fall on the tent once the snow melts under it. I didn't have a shovel, so I just stomped and pushed the snow aside with my legs. I was glad I had my custom-tailored gaiters on. They prevented snow from getting into my shoes and getting my feet wet. I will leave a link to the gaiter template below in case you're interested. As you can see, I nailed the legs with their longer portions at the bottom and then checked the torch assembly with my weight. However, I decided to install the torch upside down to use its longer leg as a pipe support. This way, the metal pipe will be suspended in the air and it will not press on snow under the torch or the torch's inner burning part. I made a V-cut on the tip of a former leg, and now the heating pipe is well secured. You can also use 2 nails to secure it if you don't have a saw to make a V-cut. The easiest way to start a log torch is to plug the central hole at the bottom with a piece of bark. Then stuff it with dry branches and wood chips. It only takes 1 match to start the fire then. I didn't do a great job chopping and reassembling the log segment into a torch with no radial gaps. This means the fire will eat up the torch faster through those gaps, which is why I put some snow in them to prolong the torch's life. Once the log torch reaches its cruising temperature, you won't see any flames outside. The torch's walls inside will slowly burn, which in turn will heat the fresh air inside the pipe that is flowing up to the tent. Note, the fresh air gets into the pipe below the level of the log torch, preventing any carbon monoxide from mixing into it. It is freezing outside, and the long aluminum pipe cools off quickly. If the first pipe segment is too hot to touch, the second segment that is closer to the tent is noticeably cooler. To improve the torch's efficiency, I decided to move it closer to the tent, and this is where I made a mistake. I didn't push the legs all the way to the ground, and I faced the consequences later. My tent has 2 entrances, so I could use one door to run the heating pipe through and use the other one for all other needs. Note, I'm not forcing the airflow in any way, yet the airflow is significant. I'm using a small feather to demonstrate it. Admittedly, my tent is large, and it will take at least an hour to heat it up through such a small diameter pipe without supercharging. This is why it's still freezing inside the tent, but I'm eager to wait to see if this tent heating method works, so I decided to take a short nap in my cozy sleeping bag. I was napping for at least an hour and a half before I got out of the sleeping bag to measure the air temperature. The air got really warm inside the tent, even though I forgot to close a small chimney hatch, which means it would have been even warmer inside. Once I put my shoes on and looked outside, I saw that the log torch fell on its side because I forgot to push its legs all the way to the ground. The log torch melted snow unevenly, which caused it to topple. I'm glad I didn't put the torch too close to the tent, as it would have burned a hole in the wall. Even though the toppled log torch could have still worked longer, I couldn't wait to test a single bent pipe design of this method, so I prepared and fired up my second torch. To save time, I used the same legs with nails. But this time, I used my clamper to reinforce the log torch over the legs as well, which pulled the log pieces together even tighter, resulting in smaller gaps between them, thus resulted in longer burning time. Also, thanks to the additional metal wire clamps, the torch ended up being extra strong. I got a little carried away jumping on it to demonstrate its durability. I think I might adopt this simple idea of just clamping parts together with steel wire to make primitive log furniture for my cabin. I hammered 2 nails at the bottom opening to prevent small branches from falling through it. It was easier and faster to start the fire without a U-shaped pipe sticking from the opening. Another advantage is you can easily move a burning torch from one place to another, something you couldn't really do with a burning campfire. This is why I decided I like the single bent pipe method better, because the U-shaped pipe cannot be removed from the burning torch if needed. It is 10 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 11 Celsius now. The efficiency of such a log heater depends greatly on the temperature gradient. In other words, the greater the temperature difference inside and outside the tent, the better the airflow will be. I reached 57 degrees plus 14 Celsius inside, and that is considering I didn't close the second door fully. So there is a 47 degree Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius temperature gradient. To be honest, I didn't expect such an impressive result. I would dare to suggest you can reach tropical temperature values in a small tent. The temperature of the air coming out from the pipe is definitely higher than 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius. Unfortunately, my thermometer scale maxes out at 140 Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius. Here are a few words about the method's safety. Firstly, there is no fire inside the tent. Secondly, there is a constant fresh air flow coming into the tent. You are totally protected against carbon monoxide poisoning because the pipe gets the fresh cold air below the level of the burning log torch. Also, a log stove can be used for cooking food even while it's heating up your tent. I personally like the single bent pipe modification of the method better. You can put the pipe in or take it out at any time, which makes it easier to start the fire, to cook certain dishes, or to carry a burning log torch to another location. However, the U-shaped pipe scheme gets the fresh air from the side, and if a small burning ember falls through the torch, you won't smell any smoke inside the tent. From my experience, even if that happens, you can barely smell any smoke inside the tent. So my conclusion is this. It was an interesting experience and successful experiment. It is labor consuming, but safe and effective. Besides, carrying 3 short metal pipes is a lot easier than carrying a portable metal stove while traveling in the snowy wilderness. I think this method can be further improved. If you have any thoughts how you can make it even more efficient, please write it below. I would love to hear your suggestions. Lastly, if you extinguish a log torch a little before it is fully burned, you can get yourself an unusual piece of primitive furniture. I haven't quite figured out how I could use it. Let me know if you have any idea what can be done with it. The log torch idea has a lot of other practical applications. For example, I recently published a video about an original bushcraft dish that I called a vertical shish kebab. It is a skewered spiral potato with a hot dog inside. I have grilled that dish on campfire many times and always found it delicious. However, the vertical cooking method has its advantages. Firstly, you don't have to rotate the skewer, yet the dish still cooks quicker and more evenly. Secondly, skewered dishes cooked in the vertical stove taste better than kebabs cooked on traditional grills. Regular kebabs drip fat onto coals, causing it to taste and smell slightly burned, while kebab dishes cooked in vertical stoves do not drip fat on fire but rise self-based, which enhances their own taste. When I cooked my skewered spiraled potato dish, the sizzling fat ran down the potato as it cooked, basting it with meaty taste. I don't think I can go back to traditional horizontal grilling. A more detailed instruction on how to make a vertical stove and prepare food in it can be seen on my video, Swedish Torch Stove Vertical Cooking, my bushcraft recipes. The link is below. If you liked this video, perhaps you could share it with your friends. Let good people watch good videos. This is Maxi Gorov, St. Petersburg, Russia. And a final note, I only produce 1 or 2 videos max a month, and if you don't want to miss new content like this, you can click on the bell reminder for notifications. I hope to see you back on Advoco Makes.